Imagine the sweltering summer nights of New York City in the 1970s, where the streets buzzed with disco fever and the promise of endless parties, but lurking in the shadows was a predator who turned lovers' lanes into killing grounds. Young couples parked in quiet spots, stealing moments of romance, only to be shattered by the blast of a .44 caliber revolver. This wasn't just murder, it was a reign of terror that gripped the entire city, leaving 6 dead, 7 wounded, and millions living in fear. The killer taunted the police with cryptic letters, signing them as the Son of Sam, claiming demons commanded him to kill. This is the chilling true story of David Berkowitz, the man who brought New York to its knees. It was the mid-1970s, a time when New York City was already on edge, grappling with economic woes, blackouts, and rising crime rates. The Big Apple was a melting pot of glamour and grit, from the glittering lights of Studio 54 to the gritty subways riddled with graffiti. But in the outer boroughs like the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn, life moved at a slower pace for working-class folks. Young people cruised in their cars, parked under streetlights, and shared intimate moments away from prying eyes. Little did they know, a lone figure was stalking these very spots, driven by a twisted compulsion that would soon unleash a wave of violence. The killer, later identified as David Berkowitz, was a 23-year-old postal worker living a seemingly ordinary life in Yonkers, just north of the city. Born Richard David Falco on June 1, 1953, in Brooklyn, he was given up for adoption as an infant and raised by Pearl and Nathan Berkowitz, a childless Jewish couple who doted on him. But beneath the surface, Berkowitz's childhood was marred by feelings of abandonment and rage. His adoptive mother died of cancer when he was 14, deepening his isolation. He struggled socially, was overweight and awkward, and harbored dark fantasies. After high school, he enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1971, serving in South Korea, where he experimented with drugs and lost his virginity to a prostitute, an experience that left him scarred and ashamed. Discharged honorably in 1974, he returned to New York, took odd jobs, and eventually became a letter sorter for the U.S. Postal Service. By 1975, his mental health had deteriorated. He set over 1,400 fires in the city as an arsonist, finding twisted satisfaction in the chaos. He believed he was possessed by demons, particularly one speaking through his neighbor's dog, a black Labrador named Harvey, owned by Sam Carr. In Berkowitz's delusions, Sam was a 6,000-year-old demon ordering him to hunt and kill young women with long, dark hair, whom he saw as threats or sacrifices. The victims were everyday people, full of life and promise, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. First came Donna Loria, an 18-year-old medical technician with a bright smile and a love for dancing. She lived in the Pelham Bay section of the Bronx with her parents and was out that fateful night with her friend Jody Valenti, a 19-year-old nursing student known for her kind heart and infectious laugh. On July 29, 1976, around 1 a.m., the 2 young women were sitting in Valenti's Oldsmobile outside Loria's apartment building after a night at a disco. They chatted about their evening, unaware that a man with a paper bag in hand was approaching. Suddenly, shots rang out. 4 bullets from a .44 Bulldog revolver pierced the car window. Donna was hit in the head and neck, slumping lifelessly, while Jody was wounded in the thigh, screaming in agony as blood pooled around her. Neighbors rushed out, but Donna was pronounced dead at the hospital. Jody survived, but the trauma would haunt her forever. Police initially thought it was a mob hit or a jealous lover's revenge, not the start of a serial spree. The terror escalated 3 months later, on October 23, 1976, in Flushing, Queens. Carl De Niro, a 20-year-old Air Force veteran with shaggy hair, was on a double date with his girlfriend, Rosemary Keenan, the daughter of a police detective, in her Volkswagen Beetle. They parked near a bar after a party, sharing laughs and kisses. The rear window shattered as bullets flew. Carl was struck in the back of the head, fragments lodging in his skull, but miraculously, he survived after surgery, though he'd suffer lifelong headaches. Rosemary was unharmed, but shaken. Again, investigators dismissed it as a random act or mistaken identity, missing the pattern. By November 27, 1976, the killer struck again in Belarus, Queens. Donna DeMasi, a 16-year-old high school student with dreams of becoming a teacher, and her best friend Joanne Lamino, 18, an aspiring artist, were walking home from a movie. They sat on Joanne's porch steps around 3 a.m., gossiping about boys, when a stranger approached, asking for directions in a high-pitched voice. Before they could respond, he pulled out the gun and fired. Donna was shot in the neck, the bullet grazing her spine, leaving her with permanent nerve damage. Joanne took bullets to her back and leg, severing her spinal cord and confining her to a wheelchair for life. Both survived, but their innocence was shattered. Police began to connect the dots, the same .44 caliber bullets, but the public remained unaware of the growing threat. The new year brought no relief. On January 30th, 1977, in Forest Hills, Queens, Christine Freund, a 26-year-old secretary with long brunette hair and a warm personality, was out with her John Dial, a bartender in his 30s. They had just seen Rocky at the movies and were sitting in John's car around 12:30 a.m., planning their future wedding. 3 shots pierced the windshield. Christine was hit twice, once in the head, and died hours later in the hospital. John escaped injury, but was devastated, his life forever altered by the loss of his love. The killings continued unabated. On March 8, 1977, near Columbia University in Forest Hills, Virginia, Vosk Karakian, a 19-year-old Armenian immigrant and Strata student at Barnard College, was walking home from class around 7:30 p.m., her books clutched under her arm. She dreamed of becoming a doctor to help her community. The killer ambushed her from behind, shooting her in the face at point-blank range. She died instantly, her body crumpling to the sidewalk as passers-by screamed. Ballistics linked it to the previous attacks, and now the media dubbed the perpetrator the .44 caliber killer. Panic began to spread. Women dyed their hair blonde or cut it short to avoid fitting the profile. The horror peaked on April 17, 1977, in the Bronx. Valentina Suriani, an 18-year-old aspiring actress, with a flair for drama, and her boyfriend, Alexander Esau, a 20-year-old tow truck driver known for his gentle nature, were parked in Valentina's car near her home after a date. Around 3 a.m., the killer fired 4 shots into the vehicle. Valentina was hit in the head and died at the scene. Alexander, shot twice, lingered in agony for 2 hours before succumbing in the hospital. This time, the killer left a chilling letter addressed to NYPD Captain Joseph Borelli, ranting about being the son of Sam, son of a demon named Sam, who thirsted for blood. He mocked the police, promising more killings, and signed it with bizarre symbols. The next attack came on June 26, 1977, in Bayside, Queens. Judy Placido, a 17-year-old recent high school graduate excited about college, and Sal Lupo, a 20-year-old waiter with a charming smile, had met at a disco and were sitting in Sal's car around 3 a.m. 3 bullets shattered the moment Judy was wounded in the head, neck, and shoulder, but survived after intensive care. Sal was hit in the arm and recovered quickly. The city was now in full hysteria, with couples avoiding parking spots and nightclubs emptying early. The final strike occurred on July 31, 1977. In Brooklyn, the killer's first venture there. Stacy Moskowitz, a 20-year-old blonde secretary with a bubbly personality, was on her first date with Robert Violante, a 20-year-old clothing store worker dreaming of a family. They parked near a park after a movie, under a streetlight for safety. Around 1:45 a.m., shots rang out. Stacy was hit in the head and died 38 hours later. Robert was blinded in both eyes, his vision reduced to shadows. Witnesses saw a man fleeing, and crucially, one noted a parking ticket on a yellow Ford Galaxy nearby. As the body count rose, the NYPD launched Operation Omega, the largest manhunt in city history, involving over 300 detectives. They chased leads on gun sales, profiled the killer as a loner with mommy issues, and analyzed the taunting letters. On May 30, 1977, Berkowitz sent a rambling note to Daily News columnist Jimmy Breslin, filled with apocalyptic rants. Hello from the gutters of NYC, which are filled with dog manure, vomit, stale wine, urine, and blood. He warned of more attacks, signing as Sam's creation. 44. The letter was published, partially, fueling media frenzy headlines, screamed "Son of Sam," and sales of wigs and hair dye skyrocketed. Women stayed indoors, dates were canceled, and vigilante groups patrolled streets. Psychics and profilers offered tips, but leads went cold until the parking ticket from the Moskowitz scene traced to David Berkowitz's car in Yonkers. The breakthrough came on August 9, 1977, when Yonkers police, tipped off by residents about Berkowitz's odd behavior, including shooting Sam Carr's dog, staked out his apartment. The next day, as he left with a rifle in a bag, officers arrested him. "You got me. What took you so long?" he said calmly. In his car, they found the .44 revolver, ammo, and maps of crime scenes. During interrogation, Berkowitz confessed to all 8 attacks, detailing each with eerie detachment. The twist that shocked everyone: he claimed demons possessed him, speaking through Harvey the dog. commanding him to kill to appease Father Sam. He described hallucinations of howling dogs and blood rituals, insisting he wasn't insane but demonic. Psychiatrists debated his sanity. Was it schizophrenia or a ploy? Rumors swirled of satanic cult involvement, with some evidence linking him to occult groups, but it was never proven. Berkowitz later recanted the demon's story, admitting he made it up to plead insanity, though he sometimes reverted to it. Justice came swiftly. On May 22, 1978, after 3 psychiatrists deemed him competent despite his paranoia, Berkowitz pleaded guilty to 6 murders and 7 attempted murders. No trial ensued. He was sentenced to 25 years to life for each murder, to run consecutively, totaling over 300 years. He's been denied parole multiple times, most recently in 2024. Now 72, incarcerated at Shanggunk Correctional Facility. He's become a born-again Christian, renaming himself Son of Hope, expressing remorse and counseling inmates. The case closed a dark chapter, but scars remain. Survivors like Robert Violante advocate for victims' rights, and New York's Son of Sam law prevents criminals from profiting off their stories. What do you think? Did Berkowitz really hear demons? Or was it all an act to escape the death penalty? Could there have been accomplices in a satanic cult, as some investigators still believe? And how did a city as tough as New York let one man hold it hostage for so long? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into true crime, hit that subscribe button for more stories on crime justice, where we uncover the darkest cases for our American audience. Like and share to keep the justice rolling.